Hey, I wanted to create a quick video that just highlighted one of my vibe coding projects. It was actually a failure. And I think it's awesome to kind of just share it with the community and kind of highlight some of the product landmines that exist because there's so many other variables than will the tech just work. There's SLAs, there's legal landmines, there's all types of things, right? Margins, efficiency by making kind of the tokens convert in like a profitable way. So this is a really cool story about how I had a decent idea, built it really quickly, kind of got the rug pulled up from under me by developing locally and then trying to deploy to the cloud and expecting a certain result, or assuming a certain result, I should say. Check out the video. Let me know what you think. Super excited. This is just a fun journal format for me. Later.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to put together a quick video to talk about this new product I iterated on over the last month called Breezed AI. It was a really cool experience. It kind of highlighted and helped teach me about different vibe coding processes. I'd summarize this as like a 4-week sprint, working mostly on Sundays, not a lot of time allocated to it. I got to focus on data compression and optimization, prompt optimization for tokens, and the costs associated with any LLM integration type stuff. I used OpenAI's o4 Mini to do all this, and it was a Next.js app that had some really cool custom kind of Python scripts and algorithms running in the background. I'm going to show you the product really quickly, and then I'm going to go into the lean canvas for the product. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go right into the lean canvas right now, and maybe I'll kind of cut up the video and show it in different ways. So Breezed AI, pretty much, the problem that needs to be solved, YouTube holds a huge amount of long form content that's packed with insights, but most of it is buried in hour-long videos. There's no quick structured way to pull out the insights that matter. There's various customer segments from, Intel-based traders and speculation-based traders, researchers, journalists, analysts, content strategists. There's a lot of open source intelligence that can be extracted from YouTube. There's actually a fun story I'm not going to go into right now, but one of the things that made me want to create this product was I stumbled upon a application about the conflict in Ukraine, and there was this like really insane kind of adversarial detail that was nested in this video, and I was like, we need, as a country, and if you know me, my background's in the Department of Defense work in software, but it's like as a country, we need to know far more insights faster. We need to make those insights available to more people, because like sure, there's like super high expertise analysts that know some detailed specific insights, but the more we can learn as a collective, the better. And so I got really excited about this opportunity to kind of surface some of those insights. So unique value proposition. Oh, and by the way, this whole format is called like a lean canvas. It's kind of standard. Everyone kind of has their own way that they organize, the what, why, the how. And so I think lean canvas is simple. I chose this format because people are pretty familiar with it, but just wanted to explain where I got these categories from. So the unique value proposition, theoretically, of Breezed AI turns any YouTube video into clean, condensed text and insight cards in seconds. It allows you to search and compare across different YouTube videos. You'll see later when I demo the product, there's like this cool little workbench where you can extract specific insights and start to kind of like horizontally slice videos in the same categories or different categories. So I find it pretty interesting. The solution fetches transcripts. That's like the Python algorithm stuff I was telling you about earlier. What are the different channels for sales? It's a web application, typical SaaS approach. So I was planning on doing some type of like freemium type model that led to a, obviously freemium converts into a paid license for a more robust experience or cooler features. So revenue stream, subscription based, like I mentioned, cost structure is very straightforward. Like I said, I optimized the data compression and the token usage. So it was pretty exciting at how cheap I could summarize all of these videos and extract these insights. Some of the key metrics, it's like number of users, of course, videos processed, insights that are actually extracted, pinned, and cross-correlated. Unfair advantage, it's fast integration pipeline that goes from raw video to actionable insight without manual cleanup. So what's cool about this is like, that's the lean canvas. And I'm going to pivot over to the actual product itself. Funny enough, like I'm considering this product/project as a failure, which is interesting, right? Like it completely works 100%. You'll see, as I'll explain. So you log in here, it's my email, log into the app, a little toast notification here. So this is pretty much your whole UI. It's very straightforward. A lot of this stuff's really cool. So you paste the YouTube link in here in process. I'll show you that in a second. You can search by keyword. You can filter by toggling favorites. So if you were to like select one of these cards, that's a summarized video with content as a favorite. You'd be able to filter by it. Obviously, it has a lot of like the full stack CRUD workflows where you can delete cards. And then these are all the different categories that I've selected. And here's your ability to sort the different cards. And then here's your workbench. I'll show you that later, but you can like pin insights. These are old videos I just tested, but I have a couple of videos up here to show you how it kind of works. So you select a video, you paste that video, and you start running the pipeline. It processes it. Geez, Sunday morning. Video completes, new summary added, curing diseases with genetic AI. So you could genetics with AI. So it's a 12-minute video. It's on the smaller end of videos. As you can see, curing diseases with genetics and AI. The video discusses the transformative potential of artificial intelligence in human health, focusing on understanding disease causality through genetics by analyzing genetic variants and their molecular impacts at the single-cell resolution. Key takeaways: genetic information serves as a foundational tool for establishing causality in diseases, which is often obscured by correlation-based data. Understanding the circuitry behind genetic variants enables precise interventions, such as flipping metabolic switches in fat cells to combat obesity. So these specific insights are, the prompt engineering behind it was pretty cool and sophisticated, and I could see an entire world unlocking where prompts and the prompt masks and like the workflow associated with chaining prompts ends up being a form of IP. I think that's already kind of being established, but learning by doing and actually creating an app that leverages some of these concepts, it really highlighted the future utility of prompts and stuff and how much deeper it is than us writing in a chat interface. But it's fantastic, right? So these are very specific things that you can index on. So if I were to pin this specific one I just read off, such as flipping metabolic switches in fat cells, that's like a follow-on thing that you can go a bit deeper on. Now, and this one as well, it just stuck out to me. The potential use for CRISPR-Cas9. I don't know anything about this domain, by the way, so I'm just like throwing words out there. You're all going to be like, you have no idea about biotech or bioengineering or anything. But potential use for CRISPR-Cas9 for single nucleotide alterations demonstrates a revolutionary method for directly addressing genetic predispositions. Diseases, cool. It's really awesome. So let's grab another video. This one's a bit longer, 24 minutes. We're going to like paste this and summarize it. I really like the brand came out, so like kind of simple and cool. I love like less is more brands. All right, so this just processed. Now you see it at the top. AlphaFold, the most useful thing AI has ever done. This video discusses a groundbreaking advancement in protein structure determination, likening it to solving Fermat's last theorem for biology. A small team was able to decipher the structures of 200 million proteins. Sweet. Key takeaways. Ooh, we only have 4 here. That's interesting because I think, yeah, we had 5 down there. AlphaFold's approach to leveraging evolutionary clues in protein sequences marks a significant shift in computational biology, potentially accelerating drug discovery and development. That's okay. This is like an actual really interesting point here, though. The use of crowdsourcing gaming, Foldit, to solve complex protein structures demonstrates the power of human intuition combined with computational methods. That's something worth unpacking, I think. Like, say the topic of what you were trying to achieve with this workbench was, finding companies that are supply chain partners for any of these potential things, or companies that are trying to leverage some of this technology in a vertical way to create value and do bioengineering or something. It's just a cool concept, how you can like grab all these different insights, pull them in across different videos. It's really fun. So that's pretty much the app. I mean, I had some cool features here where I had the different plans and Stripe kind of starting to get rolled out, and it's fascinating. It's cool. So I'm gonna log out. That's pretty much the app experience right now. Pretty straightforward, but high value for an MVP, just to simplify a lot of those things. So to kind of go back to the user experience, user creates an account, finds YouTube videos to summarize, copy and paste link, video is summarized and dynamically categorized, user consumes summary and features, and there's a featured quote. Users can extract and pin insights across multiple videos. The featured quote thing was like that little blue box. Like if you go back to the video, you'll see it has like a pretty interesting quote. I was doing that for more like journalism, if you wanted to just quickly extract a quotable thing for media purposes. Future feature is fusing those pinned insights. I didn't create that feature workflow yet where you can like fuse all the things in your workbench and find other outputs, financial, what stock tickers are they related to, kind of creative thinking, right? Like in order to come up with new ideas, you need inputs. And the more novel and the interesting the inputs, the better ideas that you can potentially generate. Pattern recognition, and then of course OSINT outcomes related to different topics. So cool. Conceptually it works really well, but there's a third-party dependency risk, and this killed the product. So this is a spectacular like learning moment for me, and I think for everyone, right? And I love sharing these kind of like capital F failures with the community, just because it's such a intense and hardcore issue that like from a product perspective, it's hard to overcome. So I had a dependency on YouTube videos and their transcripts specifically, and being able to continuously extract those from YouTube in a variety of different ways. So there's two different pathways there. There's like a Python library that's created called yt-dlp in order to get the transcripts, and then there's YouTube's actual formal API that you can get access to. So yt-dlp, they've protected a ton of extraction of these transcripts by trying to detect whether you're a bot or not. And of course, we're running a service, so we're technically a bot. And so we kind of broke, it would break the terms of service to do anything outside of that. Like you could theoretically create an environment variable of cookies and like roll those cookies and do a bunch of like shady, weird stuff. But if you have a real product and you want to actually have a user base, you don't want to be dependent on like sketchy, broken workflows. Also, there was a situation where, and uniquely, so that whole library that's created, the way I'm able to use it right now is because if you run it from like your local IP address and it's running locally, you're not intercepted by like you're not challenged as like some type of cloud service that has a bot running in it. Could have just had a local worker running the yt-dlp script so I could circumvent the whole like bot detection thing and not have to do anything super shady. It probably would have violated the terms of service still, and it's really not scalable. Where I'd have like my front end running in Vercel and my back end running in Render, queue up a job locally with my worker, and then do the transcript extraction, and then send it to OpenAI, and then post that locally to Supabase. But like that's super hacky. And long story short, like it was just a great example of like, third-party risks are always a dependency, and understanding that like kind of risk score associated with those dependencies is massive. And there's obviously like supply chain risks. There's like actual functional and product risks like mine. Like my entire product depended on a third-party integration that if that changes in any way, and makes it more expensive, more difficult to access that data, I mean, it absolutely kills your product. I wrote an app like 5 years ago that was focused on like the landscape gig economy back when like the whole gig thing was like really kind of just popping off. Everyone saw Uber and everyone was trying to capitalize on the space. The whole idea was being able to just quickly generate estimate for a property. So like the landscapers didn't have to come out to the property, and the homeowners can like buy landscaping in like 3 clicks or less. And there were a bunch of other really interesting product ideas there where the landscapers would be collecting data on the property, and it's really cool. Like it was a unique idea. It was called Grassly, but I was dependent on an integration with Zillow, and then eventually stated the SLAs and like the way you could use the data with the way that we had designed our algorithms was just like goofy, and it just wasn't going to work. So, I mean, this third-party dependency risk is no joke. So some of the lessons learned, issues and realizations. First off, like vibe coding and AI-assisted development is incredibly powerful and dependable if executed correctly. I think a lot of people are absorbed into this like lovable workflow where you just generate like one sentence and you get an app. Obviously, anything easy isn't usually good, especially when it's new. But it creates more issues than you realize. It's cool for like prototyping and building scaffolding and qualifying something. But some of this stuff, like especially all of like the can I get like these summaries really valuable, because like if you have this kind of GPT wrapper experience without any logic to make the output like higher quality, people aren't going to use it, right? The number one thing you want is I was hoping for like this groundswell of users that organically want to adopt it and like just munge a bunch of YouTube video data to prepare for the content they're going to create. Or there was a couple of different use cases and people are getting excited about it, but they're not going to use it if the insights suck. And so so Lovable never goes to that deeper level. Like it's really hard to do precision-based feature development with things like Lovable. I think eventually someday, that's definitely the direction we're going to be going. It's just for the types of products that I wanted to build was like, Lovable Plus, right? It's kind of like the whole, Bubble.io thing when that came out. It was like good enough to build like a custom, CRUD product, but maybe not good enough to do something like multi-tenant and like a bit more complex. Plus, if you had like IP, it was like running on the platform. There's a bunch of complexity there. Rushing to MVP is a monolithic app, which is the natural kind of flow for vibe coding. If you just like fluidly start to build this stuff out, was a challenge because I had to actually, when I wanted to deploy to Vercel, render, and integrate all that with my Supabase build, I had to retroactively kind of break the product up. And it wasn't hard, right? Because I used generative AI for that, and I leveraged kind of my themes and my workflows the same way I do when I'm building it from scratch or greenfielding it. So I was able to like regenerate a lot of files, kind of integrate things really easily, recreate all like the dependencies that I had. And so it wasn't the end of the world, but it definitely was kind of like nerve-wracking. Some of the things had to be reinterpreted. I had some like feature creep early on where I was doing some semantic search stuff that never made it into the MVP because I slimmed it even further down to just deploy it, make it as cheap as possible. But it's just a thing to watch out for, right? Like if I did more planning, I could have like broken the application down more thoroughly and avoided a bunch of kind of architectural landmines. Validating features locally versus cloud deployed. This is a great one. So this is really the thing that ended up killing my product. So I didn't think, I was really focused on feature and value and all of those things. I didn't really think like, oh my goodness, once I deploy to a cloud and I start trying to like pull these transcripts from YouTube, they're going to like detect me as a bot and just crush me. And there's no workarounds for it. I was like, oh, there's always a workaround. I did the hand wave thing. And I've seen this all throughout my career. Like a lot of us just like want to keep momentum, want to keep positivity. And it's difficult to have hard conversations and to not just change the chase the pessimism. And so there's this beautiful balance of like, let's build things that we're excited about, but also let's like intercept risk. Let's like be hardcore about the things that are absolutely going to crush us. And, for this, I kind of just really wanted to lean into it, and I overlooked, one of the biggest features, the biggest feature of the product. It's where all our data came from. So that was just something I wouldn't, because locally it runs perfectly. When it's cloud deployed, that's when you run into issues. So it's just something to think about and reflect on. This is another piece, inherent distrust and awareness of hallucinations. So like throughout my vibe coding experience for this product and other things I've built, the hallucinations sneak up on you. And all of a sudden you start to realize that there's like different labels for things or different functions are being called differently. So just like finding some type of like workflow to continuously check your work. If you can automate that somehow, I think that's powerful. There's probably libraries that do it already. There's probably like little Gen AI things that do it already, like little GPT wrappers that can do that for your code base. But it's, I kind of just, I like puzzle piecing things and I like having more manual control over my like vibe coded code bases. But there's risk to that, right? Because you overlook the hallucinations and things you didn't intend creep into the mix. This is the last one I'm going to mention, but package-rich coding languages are a lot more annoying to vibe code with compared to lower-level languages like Rust. So this was like my first kind of full stack style product that I vibe coded that was like pretty deep and multi-layered. I've created some cool like Chrome extensions very, very quickly and iterated on them and evolved them. But other than that, I've also created a straight up backend service written in Rust that essentially wraps a bunch of events in envelopes, cryptographically signs them and appends them to a ledger. That product was such a better experience to code. And it's because Rust is like so unforgiving that like your code only compiles if things are correct. And there's like fewer packages and dependencies in Rust just because it's like a newer language and probably, definitely a smaller community. It's growing quite a bit, especially with like Solana and the crypto buzz and everything. But like, it was just like, I don't know, it was just like a lot more raw. And now that like writing code is cheap, lower level languages are actually like, to me, a lot more fun to build with, where instead of managing like versions and like new releases coming out, it's just all so complex and distracting. Rust, I predict that Rust is going to be like one of the go-to languages in the future just because of its like memory safety and it's just like dependability and simple and like the simple nature of it. So that was kind of my last point. I hope this is useful. I'm going to continue to try to create little like journal entries like this, little like kind of vibe coding slash, Copilot engineering reflection videos. But let me know what you think. If you want to reach out to me, you saw my email in the video, just send me an email or direct message me or something.